Hey, hello all. Good morning, children. This is your English teacher, Miss Gunjan, and I welcome you all to today's English class. The video what we have picked for today is again for class 9th, and we have picked poem number 2 of your Beehive book. The poem is Wind by Subramanya Bharti. Okay, before we go on with the poem's explanation, let me tell you a little about the poet Subramanya Bharti. The poet Subramanya Bharti is one of the legendary poet from South India. This poet Subramanya Bharti left behind a remarkable legacy of poetry and prose writings in Tamil language. And the poem that we have picked today, that is the poem Wind, is actually written in Tamil language. It's not originally written in English language. It is actually Mr. A.K. Ramanujan who translated this one of the legendary poem by Subramanya Bharti, that is Wind, in English language. So we're gonna do today the English translation of this poem Wind. This is actually the English translation of the poem that is originally written in Tamil language. Here are the points in some important points on the introduction of the poem. You can check the screen out. Okay, so we have picked the poem with the name Wind. Everybody knows what is wind. It's a natural phenomena. So why does the poet take wind here, and what he compares wind with, or what he says wind actually symbolizes in our lives, right? So he says wind here in the poem. The writer actually speaks about that wind is a natural phenomena if you see it from one point, but in this particular poem the poet actually is talking to the wind and to their readers what he is describing about the destructive powers of the wind. Wind is really natural phenomena, but when the power of wind goes out of the hand, it becomes really destructive. Okay, now what he does here is he links here the destructive powers of the wind to the adversities and harsh times of life. What he says here is that during the challenging times, the weak people break down, but stronger people emerge out of difficulties even stronger. So the writer says wind here is symbolic of what? Wind here is symbolic of the challenging times, the adversities what one faces in their life. Like wind is really destructive for the weak hearts, but the ones who are stronger, they emerge out, they overcome the destructive power of the wind that is challenging. So the poem gives here very strong message that one should be mentally tough and physically strong in order to survive what? The hardships of life. Let's check with the theme of the poem here. The poem Wind depicts utterly enormous power of wind and how it has the potential of being both a destroyer and a creator. The weak and fragile cannot withstand its fury, while the strong can use the power of wind to their advantage. The same is true of the adversities of life. Those who are weak easily break down, and those who are strong take them in their stride and come out stronger. Therefore, our attitude to life and its trials and tribulation determines our responses to them. Them means the adverse conditions. So this was the theme of the poem. Let's check with the poem here again. It's written in 4 stanzas. We'll read the poem here. If you have the material with you, the books with you, then that is really good. But if you do not have, you can pause the screen and can read the poem with me. Okay, so we'll read and then we'll go with the explanation. Okay, join me in reading. Wind, come softly. Do not break the shutters of the windows. Don't scatter the papers. Don't throw down the books on the shelf. There, look what you did. You threw them all down. You tore the pages of the books. You brought rain again. Ah, you are very clever at poking the fun at weaklings. Frail, crumbling houses, crumbling doors, crumbling rafters, crumbling wood, crumbling bodies, crumbling lives, crumbling hearts. The wind god winnows and crushes them all. He won't do what you tell him. So, come, let's build strong homes. Let's join the doors firmly. Practice to firm the body. Make the heart steadfast. Do this, and the wind will be friends with us. The wind blows out weak fires. He makes strong fires roar and flourish. His friendship is good. We praise him every day. Very small, but really a beautiful poem. Okay, see here. Wind, come softly. The writer is speaking of what in the start of the poem, in the first stanza of the poem? The destructive power. Not very strongly, but he very lightly explains what little things, what little turbulences wind brings to your lives. In the second stanza, check here. He speaks when the wind is at its youth, the youthful energy of the wind, very destructive energy, very powerful energy, when not in control, brings what? Destruction. In the next part, the writer is talking about what? Giving you the suggestions that how you can make use of wind, the strong winds, to your advantage. And in the last part, obviously the writer here is speaking of what? That how you can make friends with good, and if you become friends with what? The wind, that is the challenging times, nothing in the life can stop you from succeeding. Okay, so we go on with the stanza wise explanation, but before that I would ask you to just check on with the last word of each line here. See, softly, windows, papers, shelf, down, books again, weaklings. Do you find any pattern here? Is there any rhyming? Any of the word is rhyming here? No? Okay, check next. Houses, rafters, bodies, lives, hearts, all, anything? Do you find anything like rhyming here? No. Next, him, homes, firmly, bodies, steadfast as, fires, flourish, good, everyday. No rhyming at all. Okay, children. So there are some poems which are written in what? Which are written without any rhyming scheme. Those kind of poems are said to be called as written in what? Blank verse. The word is blank verse. V-E-R-S-E. So this poem is written in what? Blank verse, which means it follows no rhyming scheme. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. See here with the explanation. Wind, come softly. Do not break the shutters of the windows. Do not scatter papers. Do not throw down the books on the shelf. Sorry. Here the poet is talking to the wind. Okay, see here he's saying do not break, do not scatter, do not throw. So actually he's taking the wind as what? Person, as if wind is no one but a person. So he's talking to the wind. He asked the wind to come to his house what? Very softly. Why does he ask the wind to come softly? Because see here, wind is very powerful and destructive. So he asks here, do not break the shutter. See what wind can do. If the doors and windows are open, what it can do? It can break the shutters of the windows, or knock down the books, or tear the pages of the books. When the wind is powerful, all the books which are kept on the shelf fall down, and the poet here is simply asking the wind to stop doing all this and be very calm. The poet here paints a very positive picture of the wind. That's it, the little turbulences that wind is creating in your life. So he uses the word here softly, shutter, scatter. These are very light words, which speaks of what? The little things, the little problems that wind wind does to you, and the troubles it causes to your life. Okay, wind here is still not in its youthful energy. We'll see it in the next stanza. But before we move on, I would like you to concentrate on one thing. See here, the poet here is talking to the wind. It means he's taking the wind as what? Person. Okay, you talk to whom? You talk to a person. So here is a special figure of speech that will, literary device that will do up in the coming slides, right? Also, I would ask you to concentrate on line number 2, 3 and 4. Can you see? Line number 2, do not. 3, don't. 4, don't. All three consecutive lines are starting from the same word, don't. If you remember the last poem, I explained you what this phenomena is. I explained you what the literary device is. The repetition of consecutive line with the same words or phrase is known as anaphora. Okay, that will again check when we'll do with the literary devices in this poem. But here, coming to the next slide, see here. In the next stanza, poet says, there, look what you did. You threw them all down. You tore the pages of the books. You brought rain again. Ah, you are very clever at poking the fun at weaklings. Okay, do you see a shift here? A shift in the tone? Okay, see the style. In the first stanza, in the first part, the poet was very light, very calm, he was talking very lightly, using very soft words. But see here, the tone completely changes from soft to sharp. Here, what is he doing? He is not simply talking. He is actually scolding the wind. He is scolding the wind for what? See here, look what you did. You threw them all down. He is scolding the wind for knocking down all his books and tearing out the pages of his books. He says, here you brought the rain again. We know rain is followed by what? The wind. The wind brings what? The very powerful winds bring what? Of course, the rain. So here he is scolding the wind for, creating these turbulences. And in the next line, when he says you are very clever at poking the fun at weaklings, here he is going very direct. He is very directly pointing out that you are very clever. Check out, clever. Who is clever here? Clever? You are very clever. You are very clever means the wind is very clever. The poet is saying, wind, you are very clever as you are poking fun at weaklings. Poking means mocking someone, insulting someone. At weaklings, what are weaklings here? Weaklings means weak things, weak people. So the poet says that you are very destructive, you are very clever, because you don't hurt the one who are strong. You don't hurt the strong houses, the firm houses, the firm building, the firm the firm people. In fact, you poke fun. In fact, you insult whom? In fact, you trouble whom? Weaklings. That is why the writer says that weak crushes what? The weak. Wind crushes what? The weak hearts. Okay, so in the first part, he's going a little soft, and here he is scolding the wind. And also the last line, you are very clever. Clever is the adjective we use for a person. Again, I'm telling you children this. You are very clever. Wind is clever here. Clever is the adjective we use for person. So poet here takes wind as what? Not a thing, not an object, but what? A person. So when we give what? A person trait to a non-living thing, the figure of speech used, the literary device used is what? Personification. Say again, personification. Who is personified here? The wind is personified. You are very clever. Okay, let's see the next slide. Frail crumbling houses, crumbling doors, crumbling rafters, crumbling wood, crumbling bodies, crumbling lives, crumbling hearts, Oh, the wind god winnows and crushes them all. Frail means, frail is weak here. And crumbling means what? Falling, crushing, going weak. So he says the wind crushes everything and does not listen to anyone. Wind does what it wants, it doesn't listen to anyone. See here, he says crumbling houses, crumbling doors, crumbling rafter, crumbling wood, crumbling everywhere. He's using the word crumbling, he's repeating the word crumbling. Why? Just to lay the stress on the fact that everything crushes, everything crumbles in the face of what? Strong wind. Okay? Nothing can survive against what? The face of strong wind. When we say nothing, of course we means nothing that is weak. Okay? So the writer here clarifies, frail crumbling houses, the weak houses fall, crumbling doors, the weak doors break, crumbling rafters. Rafter here means what? The beams on which the roof of the buildings are supported. So those beams also fall if they are weak. All the wooden structures, crumbling wood, crumbling bodies, lives, bodies of animals, plants, lives, and most important, the hearts. The hearts here is what? The heart of weak people. Weak people are not able to what? Stand against the challenges in their lives. The challenges in the lives of weak people are like what? The strong winds that crushes everything. See here the last line again. The wind god winnows and crushes them all. The wind god. Here the writer mentions of what? The wind god winnows and crushes them all. Winnow is what? Yes, a process you already know. You can see it in the picture. It is the separation of what? Separating what? Grains from chaff. Okay, by simply blowing on it, you can separate the grains from chaff. If you've seen it somewhere, people in villages still do this, right? They separate the grain from chaff by simply winnowing it. So winnowing here is what? Separating what? Separating weak and the strong. What wind god does here? Wind god separates what? The weak hearts from the stronger one. It separates the weak hearts and crushes them under its strong destructive power. Children, similarly in our life also, we see that when a weak person is surrounded by adversities or challenges or problems, what happens? Does he face all that? No. He never faces those challenges. He simply breaks down and falls. He gives up to the situations. So here the action of wind becomes what? Symbolic of the havoc wreaked by an unfortunate event in the life of the individual. So writer again strongly says here, if you are weak at heart, the problems, the challenges will crush you. Okay, let's again check with the rhyming scheme here. What are used in this first two stanzas? See here. I've already explained you that the entire poem is written in what? Free verse. There is no rhyming scheme followed. If you wish to go back and check, you can go back and check on the slide where full poem is given. You can see there is no rhyming scheme. Another important device used is symbolism. Symbolism is what? Talking about one thing and referring to another. Here wind, we say we are talking to wind, but when we are speaking of wind, actually we are talking about what? The writer Subramanya Bharati is talking about what? The challenges in person's life. So wind is nothing but challenges in life. Crumbling, I've already told you in the last stanza. You see here repetition of the word crumbling. Repetition of the word crumbling. So figure of speech used is repetition. See here personification. I've already told you, when the poet says wind, you are very clever, you are this, you are doing that, you are crushing everyone, it means as if he's talking to a person. So we have given here what? The traits of a living person. That is, you're very clever when we say. So trait of a living person to whom? Wind. which is non-living. So the figure of speech used is what? Personification. Another one is anaphora. Anaphora, I told you here. Let me take you here. See here. In the first 4 lines. Second, line number 2, line number 3, line number 4. All 3 lines are starting from one word. Do not. Don't. See here in line number 6, 7 and 8. You tore the pages. You brought rain. You are very clever. Line number 5, 6, 7, 8. All 3 lines are starting from the word you. So the figure of speech used, the literary device that is used is what? Anaphora. Repetition of words at the beginning of 2 or more consecutive lines. So here was the explanation of first half of the poem. I know another half is still to go, but for that you will have to wait for my next video. Till then, what you can do is you can 2 days time you have children, you can watch this video again, you can read the poem again, and also before I take up with another half of the poem, you can explore things on your own, right? You can write the word meanings in your copies, so that when I come next time, you are already having the meanings of the tough words that are there in another part of the poem with you. Okay, so you can revise this poem, revise the first part for 2 days, and I'll just come with another video in this week itself. Okay, till then stay tuned. Bye bye and take care. God bless you all.